Just a couple of guys dropping nuggets of wisdom as we talk about life, the universe, and, well, everything. Welcome to WizNugs.
Welcome back to WizNugs. I'm Casey.
And I'm Cisco.
And today we're going to be talking about gear and stats.
So you mean like gaming gear?
Absolutely.
So, okay, like for what purpose exactly?
So metaphorically speaking, there's two different, we can think of them as like internal things that we have and external things that we have.
Okay.
Think of this as sort of an unofficial part 4 to our goals series.
Oh, all right. So we're extending it out just one more part.
Yeah, this is part 4 of 3.
Okay, right? We do know how to count. We know it's off, but no, please continue. Sorry.
So I was watching a YouTube of Healthy Gamer, and Dr. K was talking about specifically about ADHD and some of the symptoms of that and coping strategies and things like that.
So just real quick, Healthy Gamer, is this like a guy who takes game analogies and applies it to life?
He's look into Healthy Gamer for yourself into his channel. I recommend what I've seen from him. He's a Harvard-educated psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm not sure which he is because I haven't dug too deep into him.
I kind of feel like the term healthy gamer is a little bit of an oxymoron because I know like I'm a gamer and I'm not necessarily the most healthy person on the planet. I digress.
Indeed. So his bio, he goes into a little bit more detail about this. I just wanted to give credit where it was due.
Sure.
For anybody who wanted to dig deeper into that. And so the gist of it is that we have a tendency in our lives to rely on our own abilities, whether that's intelligence or stamina
or strength
or charisma. Like if you're a charismatic person, you might be able to get by in life without studying too hard because you can just kind of fake your way through things.
Okay.
If you're a really smart person, you might spend your time dealing with your tests, for example. You don't have to study very hard to do well on tests.
Yeah, okay, I get that one.
You get it.
Yeah.
So in these situations, for pretty much everybody, you're going to have certain internal abilities that you can just depend on to carry you through a lot of situations.
Most things in life, at least, right?
Mm-hmm. The problem comes when you encounter something that doesn't fit in your framework that you've developed for yourself.
So what would be an example of that?
If you don't have to study in elementary school, junior high, maybe even into high school, you get into college and you've always thought of yourself as a smart guy because you don't have to study, so you're doing a great job, up till this level, and then you get to college and suddenly the workload is harder and you're going more in depth and you have more to do in a shorter amount of time. If you've never developed the tools or the skills to deal with that, to be able to get through these things and apply yourself in a way other than I just get it.
So you've always had the stats, but you never needed the gear.
Exactly.
Right. So if we think of like in a gaming term, if I'm going to go do a quest, and I've always been able to be that stealthy rogue, and I've always been able just to sneak in, do what I need to do, and get out. But now I got to find something. Now I got to go do something where I can't do that. Maybe I can't be sneaky. Maybe there's lights everywhere. Maybe the creature is aware of anything that comes into its lair. So I can't just go sneak and do what I normally do. And I can't rely on that anymore. And since I've always relied on just being sneaky, I don't know what I'm supposed to do to get this quest done.
Exactly. So in real life, we hit that wall where suddenly my strategies that I've developed don't work. And there's a tendency, especially what Dr. K was talking about, was if you've kind of relied on your just sort of brute force intelligence to get through school, and you get to a point where it doesn't work anymore, well, part of your identity by this point is probably tied up in your ability to do stuff, to do academic pursuits without studying.
And that's kind of like a shot to the ego if all of a sudden you find yourself like, I've always been able just to do well without trying, and now I got to put effort in?
Well, and do well without trying might not even be something that you've put it in those terms before. It's just, I'm smart.
Yeah.
And for you, being smart means I don't have to try. I just get it. Well, now you need to try. That can mess with people And you end up with a lot of, former gifted kids that are gifted adults, but they don't feel that way. And they feel like burned out, depressed losers because they reached a point where their self-conception no longer fit.
So what did Dr. K say what you do? This is the gear part, right?
Exactly.
So what did he say to do exactly? What is gear?
So gear, in this case, not to go into all of the details of his specific, show.
Sure.
But basically, you can rely more on things that are external to you. If you can do something as simple as keeping a to-do list. Writing down a list can help you in a number of ways, but just making a list now, your memory is now on the page. You don't have to hold it all in open tabs on your mental browser. You can dig deeper into the task at hand and let the list do the remembering for you.
So like in the gaming world, that's like going back and reading the quest. Wait a minute, what was I supposed to do again? What was I supposed to gather? I don't remember. Oh, look, I'm going to go read the quest, and it's going to tell me exactly what I needed to do.
Other things might be relying on, like, our digital calendars. Everyone's got a smartphone these days, it seems. If you use the tools that are on your phone, you can use calendars to help you remember appointments. You can use alerts and reminders to help you remember to do specific things at specific times of the day. If you need to remember that you wanted to work out, because that's something it's a goal that you're working on. CCM.
Sure. Yeah, goal. Yeah, I get it. Nice tie-in.
If you're working on a goal and you want to remember what your daily tasks are, put them in your calendar. Set an alert. Set a reminder in your calendar so that it'll alert you to remember to do it.
And I think part of this, too, is also recognizing what's the gear that you need, right? So if we think in gaming terms, if I know that I need to be able to shoot a bunch of birds out of the tree, I'm not going to go and get myself a handful of daggers, because I might not be as accurate about it if I actually pull out the bow and arrow and line it up just so and take a little bit of extra time and do what I need to do. So when you talk about having the digital tools to be able to help you in a, like, say, an educational format, but also then realizing that you might be in a situation where maybe that not necessarily is the right tool. So you have to have some kind of recognition, analysis. What is the right thing that's going to actually help me get through to achieve the goal as we are speaking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of that, having that positive feedback loop of checking on your measurements on your goal and checking on, am I achieving what I intended to determine whether that tool is appropriate for your need. Another concept here involved in gearing, leveling up your gear, might be involving other people.
Yes.
Have an accountability buddy.
Yeah.
This is a concept that I learned through Nerd Fitness. Believe it or not, there's a thing that exists. Nerdfitness.com. Check it out. They go into great detail on these, some of these programs, but the gist of it for our purposes is you are more likely to be successful in a goal if you've got someone else on the journey with you. They don't necessarily have to be doing the goal with you or working the program with you. But if you've got someone that cares about you, that you can discuss what's going on with you, then this is good for any kind of social interaction and engagement to keep the depression at bay, but also to be able to talk about your goal, to be able to talk about your progress. Someone to celebrate your wins with you.
Right. Someone who's going to be supportive in that nature, right? So I would even say, I know we talked about having stats and gear, but companionship, I think that's part of it, right? Yep. So if we go back to the gaming analogy here, there's times when the quest calls for you to do it by yourself, right? And there's times where it says, well, this is a group quest and you need to get some buddies to come and help you because this is the way that this thing has been designed. So if you take that and apply it to the real world and the things that we deal with, like in our particular jobs, we call on each other a lot. You're having to work on a particular project, or I'm having to work on a particular project. And even though this is an individual task, sometimes just being able to go over and say, hey, I'm working on this project, and I'm coming across this task that doesn't quite make sense to me. Is this something that you've dealt with before?
Right. Or even, I've got an idea for how to solve this problem. What do you think?
Right. Do you think that's the right way? Or is there another way that I'm not thinking of? right? But I think having the companionship or friend or accountability buddy, I think I said that correctly.
Yeah.
Wow, good first time. Having somebody there that's going to help you, support you, and at least understands where you're coming from.
Yep. Someone on your team is what's important here. Because it's really easy to tell people, hey, I'm working on getting healthy. And if they don't care about getting healthy themselves, they might see that as a threat. They might see, well, oh, great, this is going to be a guy who's just going to be talking about his diet all the time, or CrossFit, or paleo peanut butter, or, there was a guy that I remember at work. Nice guy, awesome dude. He got into CrossFit, and suddenly that was the only thing he wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I had the same issue with somebody at a previous job where it was being a vegan. And more power to you, works for you, and you get healthy, and you get the things out of it, awesome. But not everybody is going to be on that same page, right?
So this is all about finding your people that are going to support you in your journey. The last one that I want to talk about for leveling up your gear is what Nerd Fitness refers to as your Bat Cave. Batman's got his cave filled with toys, computers, workstations, his Batmobile.
I think even the utility belt, right? He has a little one of everything that he could possibly run into.
Yep. And this intervention is really all about optimizing your environment to help you in your goals. And that could be reducing steps or reducing friction between you and good decisions that you want to make, but also increasing the friction and increasing the number of steps on bad habits that you want to break.
Yeah, so let's take, for instance, let's say that you wanted to quit smoking, right? Well, how would I make it so it's not so easy for me? Well, get rid of the ones that are inside the house, obviously, and get rid of lighters and anything else that might be a remnant of that. And then, try to be smart about budgeting my money for for groceries, right? What do I normally spend money on? Well, I normally spend like $50, $70 in cigarettes. That sounds like a lot, but the last time I checked on the price of cigarettes, they're close to like $10 a pack, right? It's up there. But doing the steps that make it so that it's not as easy for me, it's not as accessible, right? This is what we're saying,
right? And people who are on diets clearing out the candy out of their house, like that's one of those examples of make it something that is harder to reach for. Now, if you're a grown up, you can go to the store and you can get whatever you want with your money. That's not exactly what we're talking about. But in order to go to the store, you have to get dressed in some degree of normalcy, get in the car, drive to the store, go inside, find the thing, go to the counter, pay actual money to get the thing, and then you have to drive back home. There's steps,
right?
As opposed to just, well, there it is right in front of me, I'm going to reach for it. For me, I've got a mini fridge here in my office, and this is where I work most of the time. So if I've got soda in there, it's really easy. It's really, really convenient to grab a soda, and so refreshing and delicious. So I can increase the number of steps involved in the habits that I want to break by not keeping calorie-laden, sugar-soaked sodas in there, and instead keeping either zero sugar versions or low calorie, or we talked about previously about seltzer water. Keep the alternatives close.
So that's
reducing
the friction. Yes. So that way, you're habitual. We're all habitual. I go grab that cold drink out of the refrigerator, and I've already made it, so all of my options are good ones. I've already removed all the soda. So, all right, well, I have what I have, and hopefully I'm going to build that new habit to reach the goal of not drinking the sugary, over-caffeinated, or whatever you're trying to get away from.
Exactly. So we can rely on willpower, we can rely on stamina to be able to work through a project, to be able to push through barriers, and, well, if I just put in more hours, then I'll be able to get more done. That's the working harder, and we've heard the phrase work smarter, not harder.
Yep.
And that's basically what we're talking about here. We're talking about leveling up your gear and your stats as much as you can. We can work on increasing stamina, work on increasing willpower. That's great. That's all helpful. Also work on increasing your gear, increasing the structures around you outside of yourself that can help support you in your challenges, your goals.
And even upgrade that gear when you have the opportunity, right? We talk about upgrading yourself and improving your stats, but updating your gear is also important. And then the last thing I would say is when we talk about gear and stats and we mentioned this, it's party. It's okay if you actually need to reach out to your party and get some extra help, get those extra buffs, get those extra little things in there to make the quest at hand easier to handle. There's nothing wrong with that. You know,
find your people that are going to help support you on your journey. That's super important.
I think definitely let them know that accountability buddy is not a derogatory term beforehand. It's something that's actually helpful and nice. Silly, but yes.
And you reminded me of another one that I almost forgot, and that is, Nerd Fitness refers to it as loot.
Yes.
This is
the all-important loot. The whole reason why we do quests. Get fat loots.
So, in this case, we're talking about, let's make sure that our rewards for success are things that are going to help us get further in our goal. When Legend of Zelda, Link beats that first dungeon, he's going to come out of it with some kind of tool. The boomerang, the hook shot, the bow and arrow. There's going to be something that he's going to come out of there with that he's going to use for the rest of the adventure that's going to be invaluable at solving other puzzles and getting to other zones in the map that you couldn't achieve otherwise. So make sure that if you're doing really good with your diet, that you don't then reward yourself with high-calorie desserts. Do something that's going to get you farther on your goal. So if your exercise of choice is running, maybe if you stick to your diet and do a really great job, maybe you reward yourself with a pair of new running shoes.
Yeah, I don't know whose goal would be running. I just...
There are people out there who like it. If you're not one of those people, you can find another activity that works for you. And it might not even be that fitness is the thing that you're working on. But if if you want to work on being a better adventurer, you go out and spend your game gold on maybe a magic sword or
a better shield or a better staff. I think the cool thing about Link in this particular case is everything you get's going to be tailored for you. Not in a MMORPG. Don't be a loot horde.
So, when we're talking about this, just to sum up, we're dealing with sometimes it's tempting to use our stats to rely only on things that we have inside us to get through, and we just push through the pain and the hardship sometimes. And that's great to learn how much you can do, to depend on yourself, to grow. It's all good. Sometimes we'll be more effective dealing with other people, other tools that are outside of us that can help us to spend our focus on other things, that we can focus on setting up our system, setting up our list, our reminders, our calendar appointments. Set those things up and then let those things remind us of what the goals that we set. Because willpower is a finite resource. It runs out.
Well, I think it's also good to know that you have limitations, and it's okay if you come across a particular goal or task that's might be pushing you to your limitations of what you normally can handle, and being able to go back and reflect on that, and then understand that, well, maybe I just need to gear differently for this. Maybe I just need to do a little bit of analysis, find out what that gear is, and then apply that. And then I'll be able to complete that task. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging within yourself that you might have hit that brick wall that you mentioned.
Absolutely. So we can depend on our party, our accountability buddies.
Yeah.
We can depend on our gear. We can upgrade. And we can work on our stats. We can work on our working memory. We can work on attention. We can work on all these things depending on what our needs are, depending on what our tasks are.
And that, in the end, makes us the healthy gamer that Dr. K talks about.
Yep. So, what about you? What do you think? What stats have you had trouble with, and how has gear helped you? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Well, thanks for joining us today on WizNugs. I'm Cisco.
And I'm Casey.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us today on WizNugs. If you liked what you heard, spread the word. For more information, head over to mywiznugs.com.